Greg Anderson grew up in Waukesha, Wisconsin, the eldest of 5 children.
So on Sundays, my parents and me jump in the car and we'd just take afternoon rides. There was a favorite stretch of highway. We went over some railroad tracks and enjoyed the little lift we got there. But more often than not, we ended up at the fence line at Waukesha County Airport, which is also known as Kreitz Field. We'd sit there in the parking lot and watch the airplanes. It was right beneath the approach and the departure end of one of the east-west runways. And so I got my first real taste of airplanes in that situation. I didn't see any way that could become real for me. It was still kind of this, oh my gosh, look at that. It was more of a gee whiz situation than a reality check. And basically it was 1966 when we took a car ride and we went through Colorado and stopped to see the Air Force Academy. This whole idea of some service in the public sphere was a part of me. And all of a sudden I was thinking at the Academy, maybe there's a way to combine the public interest that I had in service with this curiosity that I had about flying. 1968 comes to mind as being a pretty important year in my life because 1968 was the year I graduated from high school. 3 weeks later, I had to be at the Air Force Academy in this basic cadet beast summer, we called it. And I remember that year, looking back now over these 75 years, as being something that affirmed what I thought aviation could do. Space and aviation together, and how to behave down here and make the most of what we have. Both my parents were very sports-minded, and I was blessed with that interest and some ability, I guess. But I got a lot out of it, and it oddly enough, that turned out to be an attraction. The Air Force Academy was interested in me as a basketball player as well. I like to think I became a model or a helper or an encourager for other people in my family, because my little brother got into Halls of Fame before I did. He's in the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame and was first-round draft choice with the Packers, as most of my friends know, and I never get tired of bragging about him. So yeah, we've had an athletic family, and the two kind of things went hand in hand.
After graduating from the Air Force Academy and earning a master's degree, Greg went to Moody Air Force Base in South Georgia.
But I drew a KC-135. I was not in the top 10% that had their pick of the fighter planes. I wanted one, but I got into a KC-135, which, as a heavy airplane, was a good airplane to fly. It got me around the world several times.
In 1975, a U.S. merchant ship, the SS Mayaguez, was seized by the Khmer Rouge off the coast of Cambodia. Greg's KC-135 was part of the rescue task force.
We didn't even have maps of the island. We were dealing with a lot less intelligence than we should have had, could have had, but we went in, and I say we, the Marines that went in on the gunships went in, and we were able to recover the crew, but it was at great cost. We lost 35 or 40 guys in that project and a couple of helicopters. I was just orbiting overhead. It was all the guys on the ground who were doing all the hero stuff. Such is the price we pay sometimes for the things that are important in life.
In 1979, Greg left the Air Force so he and his wife Beth could return to Wisconsin to raise their family here. After a few years as an executive with the Wausau Chamber of Commerce, Greg was hired as local government liaison for Wisconsin Governor Lee Dreyfus.
He was one of those major influences. I'd lost my dad, and Governor Dreyfus and I would travel the state together. I even wrote some of his speeches, and he blew me away when I sat in the audience and listened to him saying the words that I'd written. He referred to Wisconsin as a 23rd Psalm place. Frequently used that phrase to help people understand that there was something really important, almost sacred, about the gift that we have in this place.
In 1983, Greg was hired by Paul and Tom Pobresny as Director of Development for EAA.
So getting into EAA at that time as Director of Development was another big step. I mean, suddenly Barry Goldwater was a chairman of the campaign, and Tom Watson Jr. and John Denver and Barron Hilton. And, quote, little old Oshkosh became the air capital of the world. Wisconsin stepped out in front of many, many other states that had been known for aviation, in North Carolina and Ohio. And to this day, I think, my gosh, but I think it's something about the nature of people in Wisconsin and this place that we have, this 23rd Psalm place, to use that term, that we appreciate it more. We love to see it from the air. When you think about it, it's an interesting progression to realize that Wisconsin, of all places, is this aviation place to be. And yet it is. And the EAA has a huge part of that.
In his more than 2 decades at EAA, Greg oversaw the creation of Pioneer Airport, the Eagle Hangar, Compass Hill, the Memorial Wall, and the Air Academy Lodge. He also led the development of the Young Eagles program and personally flew more than 700 Young Eagles in his Piper PA-12 Super Cruiser and his AirCam.
Yeah, I will go to my grave proud of what we did as an organization with Young Eagles, of all the things that we could possibly do and all the things that EAA stood for, and it's in all of its best attributes. Young Eagles carried the spirit and the purpose and the gumption to take it on as a big, hairy, audacious goal. And I proposed that maybe we could get our members to fly 1 million kids by the 100th anniversary of flight. And yeah, we did it. And thank goodness we got Ed Lehendro on board to run the program after we got it started. And it's still going. So we can be grateful for all of what we got started, and hopefully it'll go from their generation to others. I think pilots have this perspective of faith. Whether they realize it or think about it that way is another thing. But there's a famous book that came out, you know it, God is my co-pilot. And I came to realize that God is not my co-pilot. I am his co-pilot. And I think if we think about it that way as aviators, that we can do a lot with this airplane, but we can't do a lot necessarily with this world unless we're a team to model to the rest of the world. The world will be a lot better off.